Live from our living room, it's From Long Distance to Marriage with Andrea and Rich. We're a once long-distance couple who closed 5,000 miles of distance and made it through to marriage.
We talk long distance, marriage, and relationships. Hello and welcome to, I believe, episode 21 of From Long Distance to Marriage. Thank you for those who are stuck with us for all this time. Today we're going to be talking about telling your parents. So this is a topic that we get fairly regular messages, I'd say.
Yes, telling Instagram. Your parents about your long-distance relationship specifically.
Yeah, so and I think this can cover a few things. There's obviously telling them just that, you know, you're talking to someone. And also there's the issue of when you decide it's time to meet. And then, we've had people contact us to say about the problems that's sort of brought them. And I think for parents who may know about your long-distance love, it's quite easy to sort of pass it off as, oh, they're really far away, it's not going to happen. And then when it's happening, and in your case that was, I'm getting on a plane and travelling to meet this person, and in other cases it's someone's coming to our house. And
yeah.
So I think there's a lot of, and I think for parents there's a lot to take in with that. Yeah,
I think, like you said, a few people have contacted us about it, and we've seen kind of a mixture of responses from, oh, my parents are really supportive, to, oh, this is not going very well. And I think even between the two of us, there's been differences. I mean, I think your parents were a lot more relaxed about it. Mine weren't by any means, it didn't react as extreme as some parents can, but they were definitely, I don't know if concerned is the right word, but definitely cautious about the situation.
And I think that's fair enough. I mean,
yeah,
for you, in front of your position, I mean, we know some, long distance can be just a few hours apart. So, it may be that they're a long drive away, which is still, you've still got to be careful and all that kind of caveat. But I don't think it's in the same conversation really as physically get on a plane and travelling far away. I don't want to say necessarily as far as you did, and people are much further than we were. But I think getting on a plane, it becomes much, or, a long boat ride even, a car, you can get back in your car, you can turn around, you can go home. But there's something much more significant, I feel, about travelling that kind of distance.
Yeah, I think when time zones come into the issue, it becomes a bit scary, like that sort of distance. Even if it's only an hour time zone, but that means it's far enough that there is a great distance.
Yeah, so, but for you, I mean, so, and anyone in your position, men, women, it's, I'm getting on a plane alone, I've spent a lot of money, and your return ticket has a date on it.
Yeah.
So if you can afford to say, oh, do you know what, if it doesn't work out, I'll just fly back, great, but I think that's going to be the vast minority of people who are financially flexible enough to say, I can afford to come back earlier than what this ticket allows me to do. So you're kind of there. You're kind of stuck there.
Yeah, but kind of more specifically to the parents, I think it's more important to understand their...
Well, it is about the parents. What I'm saying is, if your child is getting on that plane and travelling that far away, without the flexibility of just coming back if it doesn't work out, they're there for a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it might be, that's going to weigh on their mind.
Mm-hmm.
So we spoke in I think we did this in a previous episode we did, about being safe.
Yeah. And
we said, have a backup plan if you get there and you're going to have to stay there like you did. You knew you were staying for a couple of weeks, but you had, your neighbour's family was sort of within an hour of my house. So you had a backup plan. We tell people, if you don't have anyone in the area that know where the hotels are, know if you can get an Airbnb, just have a way out.
And communicate that to your parents.
Yeah,
is what you're trying to...
So just that for your parents...
Peace of mind.
I mean, like, a lot of parents worry just when their kids go out at night.
Yeah.
I know my mum did. If my sister
she still
went
does.
Out, but if my sister went out late at night with friends, she wouldn't go to sleep until she was home. And that's 15, 20 minutes away in the local town. I mean, so for parents of that sort of disposition to be worrying about their kids, the minute, like you said, time zones and transport that takes you really far away,
mm-hmm.
I think is very it's expected for parents to be concerned.
Yeah, parents are protective, and they should be, to some extent. I think parents' reactions are going to vary a lot, but I think it would be unusual if your parents didn't have some questions and some reservations around this. And I think the concern comes probably more in cases where it's a long-distance relationship where you haven't met the person yet. You know, if you meet someone on vacation and, you know, then you go home and you're both living in different areas and then you're in a long-distance relationship from that can come with, you know, a bit less concern. Or if you're already in a relationship and one of you moves away, I think, and I can speak for my parents, that the unknown was a concern from them. And also, I'm sure they couldn't help but feel a little bit like, well, can't you just find someone nice here? Like, in the sense that would be easier for you and everything like that.
Yeah, and I know we've touched on this before, and I think that works both ways. I think there's the parents who, in your case, you were the one travelling this one and you find someone here. And then, in the case of people coming to see you, it's why can't they find someone where they are?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with them?
Well, and vice versa. My parents probably thought, well, why can't he find someone there, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's literally what I just
Oh, I
said.
thought you meant your parents thought, like, why couldn't she...
No, I mean your parents say.
Yeah, sorry.
And mine the same. Like, my parents may have thought of you, why can't she find somewhere she is? But
Yeah.
I can just imagine parents having this thought process of what's wrong with this person that they've got to look 5,000 miles away or
Yeah.
500 miles away or whatever it might be. Why can't they find someone where they are? What's wrong with them? Are they tricking my wonderful child into a relationship and there's something wrong with them?
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that, obviously, particularly people our age, I know a lot of our listeners are younger, but when our parents were young, dating, meeting people, the world was a lot bigger. It wasn't easy to meet people on the other side of the world or on the other side of the country or whatever. I mean...
Well, certainly not without meeting them.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I mean,
pen pals existed, I think.
I suppose it's almost the equivalent of, like, writing a letter and putting a random address on the envelope and just hoping it finds someone. Like,
I guess the only
pen
equivalent...
pals existed, but then you still had to have the means of finding out they existed. So
Yeah.
magazines, I guess.
I guess, like, one ads and stuff, wouldn't it? Would be... Or, like,
Yeah.
singles ads and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we did touch on this a fair amount in the episode that was about preparing to meet for the first time. And I think that was something that someone had suggested, like, you know, I'd like to hear more about, you know, how to tell your family. And I think we'll just reiterate some of those points that we shared then, which were, you know, be open with your family.
Well, we also did a blog on this, so why are you looking at that?
We haven't done it yet.
Yes, we have.
Meeting your parents? Or telling your parents?
We did a post about as a follow up to that podcast episode you're talking about staying safe.
Yeah.
So, just to sort of piggyback on what you were going to say, that might be a good post for people to look. If you're in this position, look at that post and take some of those ideas, and then you can have that conversation with your parents. So, look, I'm taking steps A, B, and C here. I'm going to have a hotel ready to book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just show them that you're
Thinking.
Yeah, because I think a lot of concern comes from thinking that, like, you're almost worrying on that person's behalf, and if you're able to show your parents, look, I'm also concerned about, or at least acknowledge the possibility that things aren't as I hope them to be, that's going to alleviate some concern because the parents are able to think, okay, you're being sensible, you're being smart, and
Yeah, we've done our job.
We've done our job.
Parents love to be made to feel like they've done a good job. So
go on our website. It's got to be one of the most recent posts. There is a blog post on it. I will find the title while you keep talking.
we know so much about our product. Yeah, so it's, you know, being open with them, and I think they should never find out about the person when you're planning to meet them. That's far too late. And I don't know how people could expect that to go well. Oh, you found it?
Got it. It's 5 tips for preparing to meet your long-distance partner for the first time. And we published it at the end of January.
Okay.
So if you go on our website, it is between episodes 17 and 18.
Great, yes. So look that up, definitely. But as I was saying, I don't think it's ever a good idea for your parents to find out about this person when you've booked your plane ticket or you've arranged to go meet them. They need to know before. And I don't think that any parent would probably take that very well. Like, oh, you've got this long distance person and you're going to go meet them and this is when I'm just finding out about it.
And I think age has got to play a big part in this too, because, well, age and personality. And I say personality because, realistically, I think if you're in your teens, maybe early 20s, maybe beyond, but I'd say that's probably most common, you're probably going to fall into one of two categories. You're either going to be, fairly sort of easygoing offspring.
Child? Hopefully not.
I mean, child. If the
to your parents, yeah.
not child in age. Or you're going to be someone they view as being rebellious, and I would imagine that if you're of that age where they might just think you're just being rebellious, you're deliberately looking for the path that's going to cause us distress, and all that, then you're going to have a very different conversation to the kids that the parents can think, well, you're smart enough, sensible enough that this is, you found this and you've probably weighed it all up. The caveat I would say to that is if you're one of those kids that the parents have always been able to sort of see as sensible and proper, and then you turn around, this is a massive shock to them and they can't take you having your own independence like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think there's probably...
But we never expected you, you're the good kid, why have you found someone like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends a lot on the relationship. I mean, you've, in the past, and probably at this age as well, you had a very volatile relationship with your mother. Like, no, you guys got on, let me clarify. Yeah. You guys got on really, really well, but when you disagreed, it was like a sibling argument.
Yeah, but I don't know the relevance of that, because... Well, had no bearing on her, how she viewed...
No, but I'm just using that as an example, and I'm going to say, like, with me, like, my dad and I have always been quite relaxed. My mom and I would just butt heads and not argue in the same way. But what I'm saying is, when you have to bear in mind your relationship with your parent when you tell them that this is, that you're in this relationship, because...
Yeah, but we didn't argue, like... We weren't volatile. It was just if we got to the point where we had an argument. It wasn't like... If ever there's a disagreement, it would become...
Oh, no, sorry, I wasn't trying...
You've massively...
I didn't mean to imply that. Sorry, no. I just meant that when you guys do argue, or you don't really argue now...
Yeah, but it's not like I'd have told her that, I've got a long-distance girlfriend.
I wasn't saying that happened or anything. I'm just saying, in general, whether you're telling them about this or not, you need to bear in mind what things are like when you disagree, and be prepared for that. And I think... Parents and kids do argue when they disagree, especially if you're an older teenager or a young adult. Obviously, if you're still living in their house, it's going to be a bigger deal, and that's why it's going to be tricky to tell them. Yeah. So you need to... what I'm trying to get at is that kids can really easily fly off the handle with their parents if they think they're being unfair, they're trying to stop them from doing something that's really important to them, and you basically have to put that aside and... ignore that as much as you can and stay really, really calm when you talk to them.
I think, like, we always say that relationships are communication, and I think it's important to remember that you're in a relationship with your parents too.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
So if just sort of continuing what you said, if you know that you're more likely to argue with one over another one or whatever, prepare what you're going to say.
That's exactly what I'm...
Just think, like... But not just what you're going to say, but just think... Because odds are you know your parents pretty well, so just think, what's the reaction I'm most likely going to get to this? Like, play it out in your head. Don't just think what you will say, think what will they say and how will I react to that. And
totally.
They're going to be concerned that I'm going to get stranded, or I'm going to get kidnapped, or I'm going to get beheaded, or whatever. Like, what are their...
Bit extreme.
But, what are their specific concerns?
Yeah, yes. And you know your parents, so you'll know that. And then you can write them down and think, okay, well, my mum's going to be concerned that this person's going to be a creep, and my dad's going to be concerned I'm going to lose my credit card and be stuck there. Like, so then have answers for that prepared. So you're not going into this conversation just, by the way, guys, I'm going to Europe to meet someone, and it's like, what the fuck? You're not going to Europe to... Oh, Again, I maintain that should not be when they find out.
No, but that's when they find out that you're travelling.
Yeah, but I think that in the lead up to that, before you even are planning to meet this person, I think it's courteous if you are living in your parents' house, particularly because I think no matter how old you are, to an extent, you're expected to live...
By my house, my rules.
Essentially, yeah. Obviously, as you get older, that becomes more flexible, or it should. I mean, I still had a curfew at 22 or whatever.
You know what I think? We won't mention names, but we've been talking to one of our followers who is in their 20s and is having this problem, and they're in the position where the other person's coming to them, so they're not travelling, and it does change the dynamics when the person's sort of legally an adult, because fine, they still live at home, but the conversation is. I think there's two sides to that story. The parents are saying, "Well, you still live at home," and the person in the relationship saying, "I'm a grown up, and this is what I need to do."
Mm-hmm.
And in this particular case, the person was travelling to her, so that, again, that takes away the concern of we don't want you travelling away.
Yeah.
And they were going to be sent in a hotel. So there's all that kind of things where on paper it's an ideal scenario for a parent, like. Their child's old enough to be making this decision. They're not stupid. They've, done all the safety things we talk about, like the FaceTiming. They know they're not being catfished. They know he's real. He's travelling to her. He's going to stay in a hotel. He's not going to be in the house. Like all those kind of things, and yet there's still that resistance. And I think maybe we should talk about that kind of scenario where it's just like, I've done everything that's recommended to put my parents' mind at rest, and they're still concerned.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit, if you listen to our last episode, which was with Sam and Jared from the LDR activity book, we talked to them a little bit about this, and mentioned that we have quite a few listeners who are concerned about it. And Sam said something that I think couldn't be any truer, which is, if family or someone isn't supporting and it's right for you, it doesn't really matter. Your relationship is sacred and you have to do what you can to protect that.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here because
you always do.
Yeah, I think it's important too. But I also know there are people in this situation. So, one, I completely agree with what Sam said and what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
In any situation where you can do that, like that's true. But there are situations where just storming ahead with it may have lasting repercussions with your family. There are families that are a bit more volatile.
Like you and your mum, you mean?
No. You and I weren't at any danger of being kicked out of the house, but we may know people who would be kicked out of the house for defying what their parents said. Yeah, so we can't. I don't think in good conscience we can just say, just go and do it. If you're in the position where you think, if I do it, I may not have a home to go back to, and you don't know that relationship's going to
That's
work
also
out.
not what I said, though.
No, I know. I'm following on from what you said. That it.
So what should I do?
I just think before you take the advice of two strangers such as us, just think, how would this really apply in my life? Like, would my parents say, if you really pushed and said, look, I'm 22, 23, 24, I have to do this, would they say, fine, do what you got to do, we're done, like, we'll wash your hands of it? Or would they say, if you do that, you're not welcome back here, and then is that a decision you're still willing to take? That's what I mean. Like, we have to be conscious of people's situations.
So what should people do in that situation, do you think?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, maybe what would help is like what our parents did. Our parents spoke on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think what the best thing to do is to, one, you're never going to get anywhere by arguing, because neither side's going to just say, fine, you win, you've bored me to death with it. What?
It's just funny, you bored me to death, you win.
That's not how conflicts resolve. You need to demonstrate that you're the grown-up, that you're trying to prove that you are, and say to them sensibly, look, what are your concerns? I'd ask them the two questions: what are your concerns, and how do I make you feel better about this?
Yeah, totally.
And then let them tell you. And if they're telling you, look, we're worried that this person's not who they say they are, we're worried this person's, then you can say to them, would you feel better if you FaceTime them?
Yeah.
And you can see them face to face, and you can ask them your questions. Would you feel better if you got on the phone with their parents and you can ask them this question? Would you feel better if they weren't staying in our house and they were staying in a hotel? Would you, and just try and break down what's the risks. If it just turns out it's just not what we want for you, move on, then fine, that's unreasonable. And the big part of me really does, and we said this to the person that we referenced before, like, and pretty much what you said that Sam said in last episode that we did as well. You know, if you're of an age when actually you're an adult and you've been sent from taking the precautions, then fine, just go ahead and do it. But I just think we need to have the disclaimer to that as long as you don't think it's going to really damage the relationship with your family.
Yeah.
Or you're not willing to take the risk.
And there's also, I mean, we were, you know, and this is not being ageist or bashing anyone, but, you know, when we've kind of first started doing this podcast and getting involved in the long distance community on Instagram, we were really surprised to see some extremely young people, like 11, 12
Yeah, I was going to say,
year-olds.
let's just be transparent about this. We're not talking like 17. We're talking barely.
I mean, 17,
pubescent.
we started talking at 17. Obviously, we didn't really have any
But yeah, we are talking people who are not yet in their teens.
children.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we have any listeners that are that age, like, that's great. But you have to be realistic. I mean, I don't even know that my parents would have let me fly to go see family members or something that
let's
age.
put
Like,
it another way. Albert, the niece on your side of the family, is 11.
yeah, oh my
and
God.
she is welcome to come here.
Mm-hmm. In a few
But she's
years.
not yet allowed to fly on her own. Now, her parents know exactly who's on the other end. They know that we would meet her at the airport, but there's that bit in the middle, which is being at the airport. And that's to visit family.
Yeah.
In their house. Like, to expect that they're going to let you just go across at 11, 12 and...
Well, there's also the issue that if you're a teenager, like an older teenager, hopefully you're working, you're saving up. How, you know, an 11-year-old isn't going to be able to pay for...
Look,
this isn't really the route we want to go down, but I'm just saying that, like, there's a time and a place when a parent can and should say, this is not happening. And that's probably what that is.
Okay, let's draw the line of where that is. For me, there is the very, very thick red line of you're a fucking child.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm sorry if you're 11, 12, 13 listening to this, you are a child. And you
Which doesn't mean you can't care about a person long distance.
No, it doesn't mean you can't listen to this and all that. But you are of an age when, unfortunately for you, maybe you have to listen to your parents. And that's not unreasonable. When you're 16, 17, it's a tricky distinction. And I think, you know, like that's when we were talking. And I think that's one where I'd say that's case by case. Are you that dickhead, rebellious teenager that has given your parents every reason to be suspicious of what you're doing? Are you willing to sit down and have the conversation? Are you willing to talk to them like we did? We didn't say, "Well, why don't you trust me?" Like we said, "Yeah, fine. We'll arrange a phone call between the parents," and we did that. And then if you're in your 20s, I'm generally of the opinion your parents can get over it.
Well, even if they can kick you out?
I mean, yeah, like I said, if there's going to be damaging consequences to you, and you still need to be respectful of if someone's travelling and they're going to stay in your house, then you need to be respectful of them.
Yeah.
But if it's someone who's, one, you're going to see them, or two, they're coming to see you, but then they're going to stay elsewhere and respect all those boundaries,
Yeah.
I'm generally inclined to say, just crack on.
And
At some point, you have to teach your parents that they are not in control.
And at some point, you're going to have to move out anyway. So, you know, if you're in your 20s, it's probably on your radar.
And I think maybe it's a bigger issue if you're in your 20s. I think if you're in your 20s, you need to be your own person and be an adult. And if that's the situation with your parents, I think they just need to be sort of shown, like, this isn't working for me anymore. Like, everything's cool, but you can't tell me how to live like that.
Yeah. But there's also another, you know, parents' issues around it might be different. You know, I know, obviously my parents were very concerned about me being safe and being smart, but they also knew that I was very cautious and smart about, you know, my safety for the most part. But there's other concerns. I mean, your parents might just be worried that this relationship is going to take you very, very far away from them. I mean, my parents, from the time we started talking, and the time we got engaged, there were 6 years. Sorry, there's a pug snoring again. Do we have something we could throw at him?
He's alright, it's not that loud.
Only
6 years.
Yeah, so my parents essentially had 6 years to to adjust to the idea that I cared about someone very, very far away. Obviously, we weren't in contact completely through that 6 years. But, you know, you weren't a stranger in our house, even though you'd never been met. I mean, I think I told my parents, or at least my mom, about you when when we were 17 and we were talking. And, you know, she didn't discourage the friendship. Of course, I was 17. What was I going to do? I was getting ready to go away to college. And then kind of every time we would talk again, obviously we had the, you know, unfortunate incident of I was very hurt at one point. So I think that played a big part. But basically it came down to the fact that eventually I came to meet you. You came back to see me. And during that time we got engaged. And I think I've said in previous episodes, my mom and I went out to lunch not long before I left America. And she just said, you know, I'm having a really hard time with this. And I think it's very easy to get caught up in the excitement of your own joy, of being with someone or maybe closing the distance. But, you know, it's hard for parents when their kids leave anyway. When you're leaving for another country, it's a really sad thing for them. I mean, my mom still really struggles with it. And also I'm the baby, so that didn't help. But I guess you just need to be mindful of your parents' feelings, not only their concerns.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. Like, a lot of parents, when you're in that position of responsibility, it's hard to say, I feel...
this will hurt me or whatever, yeah.
When
have you ever heard...
Like, I know my dad wouldn't say that even if it did, and then maybe that hurt comes out in other ways, like, no, you can't do this, because they've always... I don't really want to say control, because I don't think it's sort of deliberate control necessarily, but they've always had the ability to say, no, I'm stopping you do that.
Yeah.
And maybe the intentions for that in this scenario was, I can't deal with the pain that would cause.
Yeah, and I mean...
But they may not say that, so that's why it's important to have that conversation of, what are your concerns here?
I think... But that's not even necessarily a concern, it's just
a
feeling.
Yeah, but their concern is... Well, the conversation around their concerns is, like, you know, this is going to hurt me. This is going to hurt your mum.
I mean, you think about what we put our parents through, you know, the things we say to them when we're teenagers, and, you know, kids can be really, really shitty to their parents, and parents put up with a lot, good parents do, and they never really tell you how much it hurts them, or how much it affects them. There's been a couple times when my mom has said, you know, we had really nasty fights when I was a teenager, you know, like, you're being really mean, that's hurtful. But for the most part, we fling shit at them, and they take it, and they just punish us like a parent does, but they don't put their feelings in it. And I just think it can be easy to remember, or easy to forget, that parents have feelings when it comes to your relationship with them. And so telling them that you're going to be meeting a person, or you have feelings for a person very far away, and you might be meeting them, that might become an argument, and then people get hurt. I don't know. It's just, you can't only think about your feelings, though I still agree with what Sam said. You have to protect it. You know, your relationship is sacred. Your relationship with your parents are also sacred. So while I agree with you, babe, in the sense that, like, it comes to a point where you have to do your own thing, I 100% agree. But you should try and find a way where you can also salvage, you know, your relationship, or respect your relationship.
Yeah, I completely
with your
agree. I mean,
parents.
your parents raised you, they did everything for you, and then at the first opportunity, you're going to turn around and say, well, that's not working for me, see you later. Like,
yeah, and
I think it's true. Like, your relationship with your family is sacred, and it's more sacred than the relationship with your other half until you develop that relationship with your other half.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I always remember being a little kid and, like, being ill or whatever, and my mom taking care of me. And I remember, you know, and my grandma had died already, and I remember saying, oh, no, she hadn't. Anyways, I remember saying to my mom, like, oh, don't you want your mommy when you're sick? No one comes to take care of you. And she said, oh, you know, when you grow up and you get married, you want your husband to take care of you. But, I mean, there's been, like, once or twice when I've been really poorly, and I've actually said to you, I just want my mom.
Yeah.
No one takes care of you like your mom, hopefully.
No, and I think, like, families, unless it's, you know, really toxic, like, and even then, I just find it devastating when you have those families who the parents just don't talk to the kids. I just think, you know, like, when
really
you were
sad.
born, like, you were the fucking joy of their life, you know, and that's not, you know, the outcome when when you were born that they had in mind was never like, oh, we'll fall out and not talk. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I just think that's terrible. And obviously there are those situations where you do have toxic parents, you have bad parents, whatever, you know. But I'm not talking about those extremes. It's like, just before you do anything that you know is going to hurt them, just think, is there an alternative here?
And I think if it does come to a point where you feel like they are not on board, potentially it could be a damaging thing. But if you are set on being this person, you know it's safe, you know they are who they say they are, you've been talking, you know, more than just a few months, you know, you're not rushing into anything, you're doing it right. The conversation has to be of the formula that it's, you know, I understand that you have concerns about this. I've shown you how careful I'm going to be. Let me know what your concerns are. If you don't want to be a part of this or meet this person, I'm really, really sorry. I respect you, but this is something I have to do, and you are welcome to be a part of that if you want to, and I will welcome you. You have to be the grown-up in that situation and leave the door open. You cannot say, fine, fuck you, I don't need you anyway. That's not going to help. I mean, unless they say that first, then there's a problem.
Even if they do, like, no, I think you're absolutely right. Like,
if they're not ready, they're not ready.
Do you know, like, the thing that every grown-up realises, but you don't realise it to become a grown-up, is...
being a grown-up sucks?
Well, just... when you're a kid, you kind of feel like, oh, well, I'm a grown-up, I'm going to know everything. I'm going to be really secure and have it all... You fucking don't.
I know, fuck all.
Like, you just still feel like... I still feel like one day I'm going to become a grown-up. But I also know that my age now, one, is a grown-up, but two, when I was a child, I would have seen myself as, like, middle-aged or something.
You're a dad. You're like dad age.
I'm older than my parents my parents have stopped having children by my age. You know, and it's like... So, you know, like you said, they have feelings, they're emotional, they're figuring it out, and they're thinking we didn't expect this for our kids to meet someone.
Yeah, and I mean...
So, yeah, if you just react of like, yeah, fuck you, I don't need you, like, that's the last thing they want to hear. They want to be involved, they just don't know how to be involved. They don't know how to handle the emotions, the prospect that their child's going to be leaving, especially if you're an only child. I'm sure that's even worse. Like, it's just not what they had in mind, and you have to be considerate of that.
Yeah, and I think, like you said earlier, you know, your relationship with your parents is an important relationship, and we always put a really strong emphasis on communication in relationships, and especially at times like this, you should put as much effort into effectively communicating with your parents as you would with your partner during an argument or a difficult time in your relationship.
Take them on a date, like, legit. Just say, look, let's get out of the house, let's go out for a meal, we can sit down and talk the same way you would with your partner. Like, obviously I don't mean romantically, but you know that getting out of the house, getting out of that environment, you go to a neutral place, where they can sit on one side of the table, you can on the side, you can have a relaxed evening, you can
get some booze,
but it hasn't got to be like during the battle lines. You can talk, go over old memories, like have a nice evening, but just say, look, I really want us to get to a good place with this, and don't treat it like a child would, where you're on one side of the room and they're on the other side of the room, and it's just a battle of the wills.
Don't stomp.
Don't stomp. But, you know, just don't
lose
feel
the
like
battle.
I'm gonna keep fighting until you relent. Like, that's not gonna work. They need to see that. What they need to see is the person before them is a mature, grown up or late adolescent who they can think, we don't agree with what you're doing, but actually we're really proud that you've become this strong, independent person, and we'll support you.
And this
that's where you need to get to.
This is also part of the reason, kind of slightly on that topic, but kind of related to it, that I think they need to know about this person and hear about them. They need to see how happy this person makes you, to see what a positive influence this person is on your life, so that if you can be, they're seeing you're happy, they're seeing you're talking to them about this in a mature way, they can't, like, logically have anything against it.
Or, like you said, I wasn't a stranger in your house, right? And I outside of this topic, I think with anything, like, you know, like, anything, it's easy to be dismissive of people when they're just a stranger to you.
Yeah.
You know, someone cuts you up on the road, it's like, oh, you know, that arsehole, like...
Yeah.
But when you know them, it's, oh, I was rushing to get to the hospital because my mum was taking it. Like, you know what I mean? There's context. So when it's just, oh, I'm talking to someone and they live in this other country, it's like, all right, great, fuck them, I don't know who they are. When it's, oh, I'm talking to James, like I'm talking to Andrew, you know, whatever it might be, like,
It's James.
I just made him up.
Why did you make him up?
I was going to
not
make up
girl?
a girl's name, and then I thought you'd probably think I was having an affair with them, so I thought I'd just play safe. But
You're
yeah,
having an affair with James and Isabel?
who's Isabel?
I don't know, the girl.
I said Sarah.
Did you?
No, I didn't. I nearly said
You
Sarah.
didn't say
But I said Andrea. But what I mean is, like, if they know this person and it's, oh, James and Isabel and Andrea did this at work today, or this happened at school for them today, or they're gone on a holiday, like, make them part of your life.
Yeah,
like,
and that's
humanise
100%
them,
what I
totally
did.
humanise
And
them.
you didn't at first.
No, I didn't.
But, you know, I told them things you liked. I told them what you wanted to be when you grew up. I told them how you made me laugh. Not everything, obviously, but enough that, like I said, you know, I peppered enough in that you weren't a stranger in the house. And, you know, and I made it very clear to my mom and tried to prepare her. You know, when we started talking again after, you know, we had talked for a few years after our first attempts to meet had fallen through, you know, and I knew that this was going to go down that route again of us planning to meet, whether or not it actually happened. But, you know, I said, I'm talking to him again. And she said, you know, be careful, don't be friends, don't get into it too deep. And I just, like, I think I've mentioned this before, I just said it's too late. And I was honest, and I didn't see any point in being anything but that. It would have just come to a problem later on.
I think the other thing to mention here, you kind of got me thinking about it earlier on, about safety, is we both have the luck of living in safe countries. But
Yeah.
we probably should consider the people who don't, you know, or maybe
One of them doesn't.
maybe one of them doesn't. Maybe you live in a safe country, but you're going to be travelling somewhere where there's war.
Like
or,
South Africa or
or where it's just
violent.
very high crime rate. Maybe you're a woman and you're going to be travelling to a country where being a woman is not safe. Or
Well, then he should come to you, I would say. Whoever is in this...
maybe you can't afford it. Like, or maybe you want to go there. Maybe you really want to go to this country, but there are risks attached to it. Like,
Or meet somewhere else, maybe.
well, whatever. But I'm just saying this is going to be a reality for a number of people.
Yeah.
Not everyone's travelling from England to America to Canada to Germany. Like, you know.
Well, I mean, is anywhere really safe at the moment? Like, there's terrorist attacks everywhere and stuff. Like, there's shootings in America. Like, you know,
Yeah, but there are
I know what you
statistics as
mean.
well,
I'm just
like-
saying that, like, it's that conversation of, you know, you can't not live your life. But yeah, I mean, I wonder with countries like that, you know, obviously I know you can travel to South Africa, but war-torn countries and stuff, there's probably travel restrictions anyway. Like,
Maybe.
maybe, I wouldn't know if you could get in. I mean, nobody can get into, like, North Korea, can they? Like...
But I
that
don't want to start offending people and giving names.
No,
of,
no,
I don't
no.
mean you, but I mean what I'm about to say. Of like, there are parts of the world where women are more at risk,
Yeah.
or people of either gender are more at risk of
People of
being.
different races are at risk in some other countries.
But there are also countries where you are more at risk of being kidnapped, men or women, held for ransom, especially if they think you come from a rich country, even if you're not rich yourself. They don't have to necessarily be war torn, and they don't necessarily have to be.
What country were
having
they
travel
in
restrictions.
hostel?
That's like Eastern Europe. But, you know, there are risks in certain places. Well, everywhere has some risk, as you said. Yeah, like London's had terrorist attacks, but generally this is a safe country.
Yeah.
Yes, America has shootings, but statistically you're not very likely to get shot. Like, in the grand scheme of things, I mean. So, yeah, okay, Germany's had some attacks at the Christmas markets, but generally it's pretty safe.
Yeah.
There are countries where just you being there exposes you to significant risk. If that's in your travel plans, the conversation with your parents needs to be extremely different
Yeah.
to what we've covered, and I don't think saying to them, look, do you want to talk to his parents?
And I don't
probably
think-
isn't going to cut it.
And I don't think we're qualified to give, you know, information or advice in that scenario.
No, and I would just think if you are in that situation, just be really mindful of what you're asking your parents to put up with.
Yeah. But that's kind of a different topic that we can't really...
Well, not if someone's listening to this, waiting for us to get on to this point, and then we don't. Like,
No, but I'm saying, like, I can't tell you if it's worth doing it or, you know, how to be safe, like that kind of stuff. We can't actually offer specific advice around that other than be prepared, do your research, and make
Absolutely.
sure there is
It's
a safe
just-
way to do it.
But I just wanted to make the point that when you have this conversation with your parents, they're not all going to be equal.
No.
Depending on what you are planning to do, where you're planning to go, your parent, like you said, I think a parent in that situation probably has more right to be like, you're not going.
Yeah. Regardless of age, I think. You know what I mean? Like, if I said to my mom that we even wanted to go on vacation as a married couple to a country that's considered more dangerous,
Yeah.
she'd be like, are you crazy? Don't do that. I mean, obviously she couldn't stop me, but she would give me an earful and try and get me to stop. But yeah, I really think, communication is key. Being open about this person is key. If it gets to the point, I just can't get over this. Like, if someone waits to tell them until they're arranging their travel, your parent would feel like, why have you hid this? Like, why are you hiding this person? What is so wrong with them? Why haven't you been open? Blah, 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 blah. I can see why a parent would react badly to that.
Yeah, totally. It's just the conversation about being safe and whatnot, that we're talking generally. There are exceptions, there are extremes around it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And, we're always happy to try and offer specific advice. But, we had another listener message us a while back now. And it was a guy, which was nice. We often hear from girls, but it's always nice to hear from, get the male perspective as well. And he's been talking to a girl, and, he was a bit nervous to tell his mom. I think, again, he's young 20s, I want to say, college age. And, he wasn't too concerned. He was just asking for any tips. And, he said his mom was pretty cool. He wasn't anticipating any real drama, but he just wanted to make sure he delivered it in the right way. And that's another thing. Even if you don't think your parents are going to react badly, you still want to present it in a positive, relaxed, mature way.
Yeah, and I think, the reality is not how you deliver it. Recognise the fact that you are about to give them a massive bombshell, really.
Potentially, yeah.
Even if the stage you're at right now isn't moving and whatever, even if the stage right now is just, hey, I'm in a relationship with someone in another country, I can nearly guarantee your parents' mind is years down the line thinking, oh my god, what if they get married? What if they have kids? I'm never going to see my grandkids. That's what's going on in their mind.
Mm.
And be mindful of that. To them, they're not hearing, oh, okay, cool, yeah, Timmy's got a girlfriend over in, Ethiopia or whatever. They're hearing, oh, life's not planning out the way I'd hoped for my family.
Yeah, I mean, my mom in particular, I had a boyfriend when I was about 15, and he was not from the background that she liked, is all I will say. And even then, at 15, there was no risk of me ending up with this guy, let's be honest. And she made it very...
You say that, 15-year-olds get knocked up all the time.
Yeah, but they don't stay together, probably, for the most,
even worse.
for the most part.
Just,
well, I'm just saying...
left holding the baby.
I wasn't going to get knocked up, for Christ's sake. But all I'm saying is, there was no chance that I was going to end up with this person.
Yeah.
And even still, she had a meltdown over where he lived. And you know what? All respect to the guy. There's no way he's listening, but he didn't have much going for him. Now looking back, I can see.
Yeah, but you're right. Parents aren't hearing the words you're telling them. They're hearing...
They're 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, they're 10 steps ahead. And if you're saying, oh, I'm seeing this, or in a relationship with this person in another country, you need to be mindful of the news you're delivering them.
Yeah. And again, we're at this, it might be worth us having another episode about telling your parents you're moving, because that's a very different, I think, kind of conversation. But, I mean, for instance, your mom is terrified of us ever moving.
Yeah, she is, yeah.
So even if the relationship is good and everyone gets along, your mom and I get along really well, she's done loads for us, and even then, there's still going to be hardships around long distance. Like I said a long time ago in an episode or a blog post, long distance is not over for you when you close a distance with your long distance partner, because your family becomes long distance if you're the one that moves. So, you know, it's ongoing. It's going to be a part of your life. And it's never going to be easy, realistically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Someone is always going to be unhappy. And often someone's going to hurt, and sometimes it's going to be you.
I think the long and short of it is before you go, like, people ask us this question, and maybe if they don't ask us, but they're at this stage where it's time to talk to their parents. What's going on in their mind is, how do I say this to my parents so that I get what I want? And I think the way to really think about it is, how do I deliver the news to my parents in a way that they'll be the most accepting?
It's like what I always say about communicating relationships. It's saying what you have to say in a way that you get across what you need to get across, but in such a way that the other person will receive it positively.
Yeah.
So
and just walking in and going, hey mum, hey dad, I'm off to Africa to meet my new boyfriend. It's, hey guys, like, you know, I've been talking to this person, we've come to the place where, you know, like I said before, you know how your parents are going to react. Play the conversation out in your mind. Think of any questions they're most likely to ask you. Have your answers ready. Maybe take them. Like I said, if you go out for dinner, like, don't expect them to pay. Like,
No, if you take them off their date.
Yeah, take them on a parent date. Like,
but pay for them.
But have quality time with them, and just make it a natural, serious, mature, look how responsible I'm being conversation. Because, you know, if you do all that and they're still digging their heels in and you're not doing it, then you can comfortably say they're being unreasonable and you did everything you could. And that's when, like you said before, that Sam said, your relationship is sacred, and you do owe it to both of you to try it. And if you've done all that and you can honestly say, I could have done any more with my parents to make it better, easier, more comfortable for them, then you need to crack on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so I had my parents to not deal with, not contend with. They were actually pretty accepting of it. They made their opinions known. They told me they thought I was crazy. In those words, you're crazy. But, you know, they, I think, respected that I was intelligent and not prone to, you know, what's the word? Like,
you weren't prone to running off and getting married to strangers.
big stuff. But, so for instance, my brother, you know, I'm a lot younger than my brother and sister, so it is almost like I have a set of parents and then a set of junior parents as well. And my brother and sister, and my brother and I are extremely close, and he is a little bit protective, and he always thought it was stupid. I don't see the point. You can meet a guy here, whatever, it's fine. But I wasn't meeting guys at home, and when I did, they certainly didn't feel as special as what you and I had. And, you know, so he was extremely skeptical when we were meant to start, or when we started talking again, and I was going to come and meet you. But the minute we did meet, his attitude completely changed. Like, when I came home from England, and, like, so basically he lives near San Diego, and I stopped in San Diego on my way home from LA after I'd flown back to visit him. I got him some souvenirs and stuff from London, and I was waiting for, like, so what's he like? Is he nice? Is he this? Is he good enough? Da-da-da-da. It was, hey, how was it? Did you have fun? Like, what'd you see? Oh, this is cool, blah, blah, blah. It was totally normal, and I was like, well, I can't remember what I asked him, but I did say something along the lines of, oh, you know, like, you were really skeptical about this. Do you have any questions? He's like, no. Like, now that you've met him and he's like who he is, says, you know, this guy's who he says he is. He's real now. Like, it's totally different. You know, whatever makes you happy. And so I think hold on to the hope that in many cases parents will react that way too. That once you meet,
like
and
I
it's
said,
real.
I was humanized. I was a real person at that point.
Well, you were before as well, because I talked about you a lot.
You say that, but, like, my parents have spoken to your parents. I had no involvement with your brother.
Yeah.
So he knew of me, but I didn't exist in his day-to-day life.
Well, and the downside with that was that he happened to be there when I got the news that we weren't going to meet, and he saw the emotional aftermath of that.
Yeah, sure. But, like, for people in this situation, like, it comes back to do whatever you can to make this person a part of your life, and by extension your family's life, because
your goal is for them to be part of your family.
The ideal scenario is you'll talk to them and they'll be like, oh, hey, how's whatever the fucking name is, I can't think of any more names, so they'll say, oh, how's Sarah, like, how's her
Isabel?
Day? What did you say she does for a living again, or what's she studying? Like, make it, well, you can't control that maybe, but you want to get to the point, I think, where they're interested, they're asking, they want to get to know this person. But certainly what you can do is encourage that. You can be the one to say, oh, Sarah's just got her degree today. Sarah's just started a new job today. I was talking to Sarah. She's recommended we watch this film. Like, did you like that film? I'll tell Sarah we really enjoyed it. Like, make it her someone nice, someone that they want to see you with, and they can see makes you happy.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, they need to see that this person makes you happy and is a positive, energy in your life. But yeah, I mean, you have to be pretty serious about someone to want to go through long distance, whatever the situation is, whether you've been together locally and then one of you's moving, or you've met whatever. You got to be pretty serious about this person, and that by extension fits in with what you said, that you should make them kind of a part of your family, because the ultimate goal with any partner, if you want to not go the distance, long distance, but go the distance of relationship, is that person will eventually be part of your family. So you want to make that landing ground as soft as you can and set up the stability of a structure for...
So your parents are happy to eventually welcome them in.
Yeah, and the rest of your family and your friends.
Yeah, you've been part of the family for years. It's great to actually officially have you.
Yeah.
With James.
Yeah, and I remember like at our either our engagement party or at our wedding, my dad mentioned how important it was to him that you would come and spend 6 months in America, and they'd really gotten to know you, because even if they'd met you and you'd come to visit and you'd been there for a few weeks at a time or whatever, you would still be that guy that lives on the other side of the world,
and stole our daughter.
Yeah, I mean, but you lived in my parents' home, you respected their rules, we ate at the same dinner table with them every night, and we took them out for meals.
Not every night, we lived with your friend for 6 weeks so that we could have sex.
Yeah. We found a way, though, even after
But we
that.
still went back and had dinner twice a week with them, though.
Yeah, we did, at least. But then after the 6 weeks living with my friend, we did live at my parents' house, and we had to live in separate bedrooms, and you respected that, and, you contributed to conversation. You were a part of our family in that house, and that, I think, meant everything, because they knew who you were, they could see how much you cared about me.
And only a genuine person would do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that ramps us up.
Yeah, and I think Alfie's little snores will lull you all into a nice lullaby of sleep now.
Hopefully this has been helpful.
Yeah, I think it's a hard one, though, because there's no definitive answer, because it's a case-by-case basis. It depends on your family. It depends on your circumstances, but
if you think you're mature enough to be in this long-distance relationship, you should also be mature enough to just take half an hour beforehand and think, okay, how do I present this? What are they likely to say? How am I going to react? Like, be accountable for your own actions, and don't just think, they didn't like it and I'm really pissed off with them and I'm going to storm off. Like, be the grown-up that you want to convince them that you are.
You might have my issue, which was also grandparents.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I have on my dad's side, a very staunch Irish Catholic upbringing. And if you're from anywhere other than under a rock, you'll know that the English and the Irish traditionally don't get on very well. So I was terrified to tell my grandpa that I was in love with an Irish guy.
English guy.
Oh, I've been meaning to tell you something. Sorry, an English guy. I do know where you're from. It's late. But he actually was okay with it. I think
my granddad was cool. Like,
he was cool too.
He was like, where's she from? Like, Yuma? Yeah, I've been to Yuma. There's a massive prison. Like,
I had no affiliation with that prison. Actually, I did, but not in that way. My school's mascot.
My family was pretty chill.
Your family was cool because your family is more laid back anyway, and your mom's very different from my mom in the sense that I think your mom is more willing to put her opinions aside and be a part of your life, if that makes sense. She's totally keen to be a part of everything that she'll kind of... It's the one time she can be tactful is with her children when she wants to be part of their life still and deliver something in a way that you can, I have my concerns, blah, 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 blah. Whereas my mom is more, F that, this is my opinion, and I think you're dumb.
Yeah.
God bless her, but that's true.
Yeah. So...
And do you know what? That has actually saved me from a lot of grief in my life, to be honest. That's stupid.
Yeah. But, so... I think we're done. I can't think of anything to say.
Yeah, I mean, we could
ourselves.
ramble on, but yeah, because there's just no real... there's no black and white in this, but you just have to...
Like we always say, like, we're really interested to see what people have to say on this, if this has been helpful. If you've been through this and you've got any advice for other people, tell us, we'll share it. Or tell us what you did, what worked, what didn't work. Like, just talk to us.
We love hearing from people.
Mr. and Mrs. Distance, Instagram, Twitter. And then it was probably also worth mentioning that if you listen to the last episode with Sam and Jared Body Activities, there's still a 20% discount code for our listeners. So it's...
LDTM.
Yes. So visit ldractivities.com, I believe. And then when you buy the book, put the code LDTM, which stands for Long Distance to Marriage, and you'll get 20% off.
Yeah, and we have announced the winner of the giveaway, so that was a great fun activity.
If you didn't see it, visit our Instagram page, and we will
thanks for
probably
interrupting me, but mainly thanks to Sam and Jared for doing the interview with us and doing the discount code for our listeners and the giveaway. So I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Let us know if you've got any more questions. We'd love hearing from you guys, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.